Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. We continue our Be Relentless webinar series with training and tools that you can use during this time when you're stuck at home, although I see that provinces are starting to offer us a glimmer of hope that things may be changing in the weeks to come. But we have some really practical advice today from Kathryn Carr. She is a senior trainer with Century 21, coming to us today from beautiful Charleston, South Carolina. Kathryn, thank you for joining us, and thank you for talking to our people about this. We've talked a lot about some of these ideas over the course of the last six weeks or so, but I also think it's really important to look at it just solely how to strengthen your ties in the community, because this will pay off in the long run as well, won't it?
Absolutely. This is one of the best things and that great foundation piece that you can do, not only to strengthen your ties, but also to grow those relationships in your community.
Wonderful. Well, I will let you take it away for us, and I know we'll have lots of questions. So as always, if people have questions, they can ask them on the right-hand side of your screen, and I will be writing them down and post them to Kathryn when we're finished. Take it away, Kathryn.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much, and thanks for having me. So we have a little reminder as we talk about some of the things in today's class. We're going to bring up some, dropping by, having conversations, how we reach out and how we communicate. We're also going to look how we can do that differently now that C-19, that is my nickname for our pandemic, now that C-19 is actually affecting us. We're going to go ahead and look at some of the things that we would do traditionally, because we still know that eventually this will pass. We'll go back to that traditional market, and we're also going to look at some things that you would do more in this conventional piece. So one of the things, I really want to take a chance to discuss, and we started on it in the very beginning, is why strengthening your ties is so important. One of the best things that I've learned, and I heard an amazing man say it decades ago, and I will repeat it with you today, is that you are not in the real estate business, you're in the relationship business. And we are blessed through the relationships that we create with our sphere of influence, our friends and family, our past clients, that those relationships enable us to actually do what we love. And that's helped people transition through real estate, whether they're buying or selling. And that's what this class is about. It's about how can we stay in front, how can we be first of mind, and how can we become that safe source of real estate information, whether we're headed into our new normal or whether or not, we're dealing with a pandemic at this point. But the big thing is, it's all about relationships, maintaining them and making them a little bit more solid. So one of the things that we did to create this class, we looked at agents that really have a strong repeat referral business. We looked at agents that actually really do work that sphere of influence extremely effectively and get 80% of their business from referral business. So what we found out, what were some of those attitudes that these agents had? One, you know what? It's slow, but it's steady. Staying in contact with them. Everybody doesn't buy a house every month. So if you run into a brand new person, probability you're not going to sell them 6 houses in the next 12 months. Just not the normal purchasing opportunities. So what we have to look at is realize that when we have relationships, the probability that those relationships are going to engage with us is somewhere about maybe, once every 7 to 10 years, maybe a little sooner depending where they are in their life and how those life changes happen. So remember, it's always that slow but yet steady. Other sources will speed up your success. Looking at some of those sources, looking at getting business from repeat clients. They've used you, they trust you, and now they're trusting you to their loved ones, their friends and family. Those will kind of expedite. So we'll look at that. Also, all roads lead to your sphere. Everything you do, everywhere you touch, how you communicate, it all comes back in, and they should all be part of that sphere of influence. Those people where you can become that safe resource for real estate information. And the holy grail of it all, it's all about value. You can't just be noise. You can't just be fluff. You have to provide value. You have to become and create your local sphere of influence safe resource for real estate information, no matter what they're doing. They want to try to sell it on their own? Great. Be that source of information. What you can help them through that process so they realize that they really need to have a professional. No matter where they're at, what they're doing, that's what we want to do, is be able to create that piece of value. I'm positive you're all on Facebook, so you've been on social media. One of the things, look back. What are some of those posts that you have personally shared where you thought, you know what, this has information I want to share. This has that value that I want to get out. When we look at doing that, that's really what we want to create. We want to create posts. We want to create shares, postcards, information, videos that all have that value. that somebody would actually go ahead and share out to their sphere. And that's one of the ways, one, you strengthen your current ties, but also look at growing others. So the next thing we're going to look at are some tactics and tools. What are some things we can put in place? What are some strategies we can look at to be able to do this successfully? Well, we're going to go down a path. Believe it or not, we have a path. We're going to go define your audience. You may have several different audiences you're reaching out to. So we're going to look at that factor. How do we define it? And what are the right avenues to reach out to some of these audiences? Number two, provide your expertise. Whether you're brand new in real estate, whether you've been in real estate for decades, or you know what, you've been in real estate as long as I have, which is before computers were even, well, not quite invented, but before they were tangible out to the human, out to everybody. You know, to provide that expertise, what is it that you bring to the table? What's that special value that drives you uniquely as a real estate agent? Number two, no, number three, craft your campaign. What do you want to say? How do you want to say it? What platforms do you want to use to be able to do that? And then number four, judge their readiness. Always look at where they are within that process. Have they started thinking? Are they engaged? And do they have an urgency? So these are the four paths we're going to go down today. Hopefully you find this interesting, and hopefully I can make today's time worth your value. Hence, remember, value is a key word. So the first one we're going to look at is really define that audience. So when we talk about defining that audience, there's several different audiences you can touch. You know, one is that friends and family. And this is one that actually is a really great one that gets underplayed. When we look at that friends and family, sometimes we say mentally, you know, I don't want, you know, my friends and family thinking the only reason I'm reaching out to them is because I need business. The only reason I'm reaching out to them is because. You know, so what we have to do is find ways to make real estate important and get beyond that, because you know what? Every one of your friends, every one of your family members want to see you successful. The key is staying top of mind. So how can we have some of those conversations? Because what I find interviewing some other agents that had difficulty or developed a master skill, they had to get over it. They had to get over that threat and fear of feeling pushy, feeling naggy. So, you know what? What they shared was a healthy talk track. You know, when you're going to call Uncle Eddie, I have an Uncle Eddie, so we'll use him for an example. You know what? He has tons of friends. They're all buying that second home. They're all relocating to Florida. There's great opportunities. I have my Florida real estate license. That's where I grew up in real estate. So one of those things I'm hearing, he's telling me, oh, you know what, John just bought a condo, so-and-so just did this. And finally I raised my hand and I said, okay, Uncle Eddie, don't you know I could help them and also get a referral fee? He goes, you know what, I didn't think about it. So now sometimes when I have conversations with them, I say, hey, by the way, and I do a little bit of research, just so you know, there's 2 new condos that came on market in your building. If you know of anybody that's interested, love to be able to send you some information. And then, so I talk about real estate in the beginning, share what I found, and then say, oh, you know, how is Aunt Diane doing? How's my cousin Celine? And then carry that conversation. So sometimes instead of trying to sneak real estate in the back, how can we make real estate forward and forward thinking? And got news for you. Get over that pushiness, because if they needed your help with their business, you'd be the first one that they'd ask. So we look at that friends and family. Then we look at our neighbors and neighborhoods. So our neighbors are the people that we live close by. They're in our community. And then also there's neighborhoods that maybe we're touching. It's those neighborhoods we want the inventory in. So, you know, is that the audience we're going after? If so, we want to be that neighborhood specialist. We want to share information that's relevant to their direct community. What's going on? What's the market updates? How are things being affected? And realistically, what we're seeing in the States is some of our communities and neighborhoods are right on par, or maybe only 3 to 5% off market from where they were last year, depending on what's going on in your community. Now we have other ones that are more drastically affected, but you know what? Do some research, share it, be that safe resource. Past clients, reminding them that we're in the repeat and referral business. And it's that through those relationships, we're blessed to be able to help them. So, you know, it's putting them on a drip campaign, having some touches, reminding them that you're here not only just to help them with their real estate choices, but their friends and family. So again, we have all these different audiences, people with similar interests. I love 2 things. Well, I love a bunch of things. One is I love to play golf. I got a heck of a swing. I can do 175 to 225 straight drive right off the tees. Best part is I get to play at the ladies' tees. So you know what? I have something great in common. Back when I was an agent, I worked golfing communities. So finding people of interest, how can I leverage that? How can I become that real estate golf expert when they're looking at a house with a certain golf course, a certain challenge? That's where you look at taking your interest and aligning with people of like kind. Here on Facebook, where you're at, you can go ahead and sort. You can sort people in Facebook, pick out different groups that have an interest in golf or an interest in boating or an interest in fishing. So find people with similar interest because it will give you something in common. And normally people have a tendency to be able to communicate with people that are like them. So having those common interests can help. Targeting professionals. When we target professionals, what does that mean? Well, I'll tell you a little bit about my story again. Being in South Florida, there's a couple things I realized. One, people go to South Florida to retire. So I started reaching out to financial planners and I started reaching out to estate planners. So why did I focus on these two professions? One, they were strong in my market. Every good financial planner is going to tell people they need to invest in what? Real estate. So I wanted to be that financial planner's safe resource to get some information. So I'd share information on income properties, commercial properties, vacant land, it's low maintenance, increases in value. And I started building my relationships with them, sharing information, being there, and setting up a few appointments just to share with them some great opportunities that had a great return on income. Now, estate planners. When things happen in people's life, the estate comes into play. Things need to be liquidated, such as that property in Florida. So I started becoming that one-stop shop. So why do I talking about these different audiences? Because as you look at where you get business from, look at expanding it. Don't, sometimes we focus on just our past clients or we focus on just our SOI. But how can we get beyond that? And one of the blessings, if you can say that we have some positives coming out of C-19 in this pandemic, is that we're all coming up with and leveraging new technology. Think about how leveraging video, how getting over that video phobia we all have, and realize that, you know what, I can reach out to more clients. I can reach out to more clients better and more effectively by leveraging video. So think about new ways that you can do things. And that's what we're going to get into today. So the next one is providing that expertise, taking those leads, converting them, and getting people that are raising their hand and saying, hey, you know what, I'm interested in real estate. How can you help? But also letting people know that you know it. Here in the United States, and unfortunately, I don't know how many steps there are in a real estate transaction in Canada, but in the United States, NAR did a study, there's 183 steps in a real estate transaction. Our problem is the average consumer feels that there's 5. There's find an agent, list with an agent, they put it in the MLS, they put a sign in the yard, and they pray, and then it goes to close. Well, you know what? We know better. So how can we expose that we're the master of all those steps? So let's look at it a little bit more. One, know your numbers. Be that safe source again of information. Know how many homes, what's the absorption rate, what's the change, what has the impact of having this pandemic and going through it, how has it affected the market? Are there opportunities? We had a great meeting the other day with the CEO of Realogy, and he shared one of the great insights that he's been hearing is stop and think about it. Here in the States, we've been in our home for 6 weeks. And a lot of people like their home, but not in love with it. Imagine being in it for 6 weeks, knowing that it was too small for your family of 5, knowing that, you know what, you had a place to escape. The kids had a place to escape because they went to school, you went to work, and you came home for short periods. And really, you only had to deal with some of the things you're unhappy with in your home on the weekends. Now you've been in it for weeks. One of the things that we're seeing on Google and tracking some keywords, real estate and real estate searches have increased over and over. Also, the same thing. What about people that their kids have moved out and now they have this huge house? And they realize that over the last 6 weeks, they lived in 3 rooms, the bedroom, the kitchen, and the family room. Do they really need all those extra bedrooms? Do they really need all those bathrooms? So there's a lot of opportunity. So really make sure that you're out there talking about numbers and talking about visibility. Being present. Video's king. Got news for you. Every minute of every day, there are 72 hours of video uploaded to YouTube. We're a video-based society. Think about most of your posts that you look at that come on social media, most of your posts that come to you, even video text messaging. Think about getting out there in video. Let them see you. Let them see that you're working, see that you're engaged, and see that you're embracing this change and that you're ready for what's coming out and that you're ahead of the game and you're active in today's world and what's going on. And the other one, be consistent. Don't just jump in because now we're going through a pandemic. This may be your opportunity to focus back, to get re-engaged with past clients, with your friends and family, with your sphere of influence and other areas that we talked about. But remember, it isn't just a one and done. You don't just want to be there for the next few weeks. You want to be with them for the rest of their life. You want to be their real estate agent of choice. You want to be able to service their needs, their children's needs, their families, their friends. So you know what? It's more than just that one and done. Crafting the campaign, and this is where we're going to spend a little bit more time, and we're going to look at crafting your campaign in our future new normal, but also crafting that campaign that is out in today's market. How can we get ahead of that? What are some of those pieces of value that we can bring? So awareness and interest, that's what you want to drive. You want to ask questions. You want to post things that have call to actions, that have engagement. You just don't want to put information out there. You want feedback. You want to get them engaged. You want get your audience listening, but even better, you need to listen to your audience. So that's one of the things that we're going to talk about. So how can we feed this funnel? One, we're going to work on creating an awareness. What are some of their concerns? Ask some questions. Do a poll. Send out and say, hey, you know what are your concerns? What are your thoughts? What are you hearing? And how do you feel? Then we're going to create interest. Did they know that maybe you just got a listing, maybe it wasn't you, but somebody within your company just got a listing and it sold and transitioned in how many days? The other day I was walking my dog in my neighborhood. We had 3 moving vans. And I thought, okay, everybody's moving. So I actually asked them, I said, hey, by the way, are you moving in, moving out? Did you buy or sell? Out of the 3, 2 bought, 1 rented, and 1 rented because currently there's nothing available and there's not anything else available where I live. So there's a supply and demand. So talk about that. Share some things that are out there and find some things that are interesting. Find some things that are engaging and look at how everything's going to evolve. And then again, put it into action, find out to play. Well, traditionally, here's these items of value: a comparative market analysis. We reach out to our consumers, we reach out to our friends and family, we reach out to strangers, and we offer that we'll do that comparative market analysis. So how can we look at doing that in today's world with social distancing? Well, you know what? Share that you're willing to do a virtual one. It's very easy. You can set up a virtual appointment, whether you use GoToMeeting, whether you use Zoom, whether you use FaceTime or um, Facebook. Pick your platform, but just somewhere where you can actually go ahead and share video. Let them take you on a video tour of their home. Get an idea. Have some communication. Share a little bit of video. Go back and do your research, and then come back in and set up a video meeting where you can go ahead and share those results. You know what? Maybe they're surprised and their home has a little bit more value than they anticipated, and it could be a great time to put in that buy. Market overviews. What's going on in today's market? Think about utilizing some of the tools and resources. How are you sharing that information out? Instead of sending it out in an email, convert it into a video. There's a lot of different platforms that you can utilize to go ahead and input a video. You can post it on YouTube, share it that way. You can post it and share it on a private channel through YouTube. So it's easier to load up to Facebook. It's easier to be able to go ahead and do video texting. One of the huge pieces that we're seeing here in the US is video chat and video texting. There's great different resources and platforms where you can do a quick little video and send it out as an individual text message to your sphere of influence, your friends and family, and those groups that you're reaching out to. Market statistics, newsletters, this list goes on. But you know what? It's expanding that level of value, especially what would be important today as consumers are going through the pandemic. Here in the United States, National Association of Realtors is sharing some great information. Whether or not you're buying, whether or not you're selling, what are some cautions, what are some steps to take? Look and reach out to your resources there in Canada and find out how can you share some of that. What are those resources out there? Because believe it or not, people always need to buy and people always need to sell. So now when we look at the campaign, traditionally, we have face-to-face. We have those drop-offs, that Brian Buffini Popeyes and door knocking and handshaking and getting eyes to eyes and toes to toes. Probability, 6 foot of distance is going to put some problems on that. So we're going to look at that. And obviously digital hasn't changed. Digital really has changed because now we've all embraced this video piece. We all know what's going on and great ways to be able to reach out. Again, video chat, FaceTime. Apple's opened FaceTime to now 32 people. So you can have a FaceTime with 32 people at one consecutive time. We have video messaging through Messenger and Facebook. We have tons of different platforms. Here in Century 21, we have a list of 17 of the most dominant video platforms that you can use. And we've been sharing that out with our system members, and I'll be more than happy to follow up with that with an email for you guys as well if it's something that you'd be interested in. So let's talk about face-to-face. How does the pandemic affect it? Well, you know what? It affects it hugely in one way. We're not door knocking, we're not shaking hands, we're not doing some of those traditional activities that we used to do within our neighborhoods and within our communities. We're not going into businesses and introducing ourselves maybe to that financial planner, maybe that estate planner. So how are we looking at things? Well, you know what? Still some basics come into play. We need to build rapport. We need to start building that relationship. We have to go from stranger to friend to advocate. The only way we're going to do that is through communication. We have to establish some credibility. Make sure you do your research. Again, know your numbers. Share what's going on. Align some success stories. Don't be that chicken little, the sky is falling. Be that dominant agent that says, you know what, if the sky's falling, that's just another piece of real estate I need to get a listing on. So have that right attitude. And I'll tell you what, through this whole process, it's all about a mindset. Don't think that this is something you need to put off until the new normal comes out, because the one thing that's been happening in real estate for eons is that change is always going to take us effect. Again, providing value, asking for business. Sometimes we look at and we go, you know what, can we really ask people to list right now? Can we really ask people to sell? One of my favorite agents, he's a great agent, a listing agent here in the US. His name is Josh Wright. And one of the things he's doing is he's still out there listing houses. And he's just putting that the house isn't going to be up for showing until 5 days after social distancing is listed. Over the last month, he's gotten 18 listings. So he has 18 listings in his queue that will actually go and start being seen once social distancing has been lifted. Some of them are within 72 hours and some of them are within 5 business days. So, he's putting in some metrics. Meanwhile, what is he doing with those listings? He's going ahead and doing some virtual staging. He's having a virtual tour of the home, suggesting some staging, suggesting some repairs. He's visited some of the homes, some of them he hasn't. And then also he has his photographer going in. His photographer goes in with booties, mask, gloves, doesn't touch anything really, has the homeowner touch, and he's getting all that professional photography done. So all his marketing, postcards, flyers, everything's going to be done. So when it's lifted, those houses are ready and they're going to be dominant in the market. So don't be afraid to ask for business. And I'll also align with that warm close. You know what? I really love talking about you. For example, going back to my conversation with my uncle, I talked to him about condos that came in the market in this area, went and found out about our family. But you know what? Before I hang up, that wonderful warm close to say, hey, don't forget, I'm just going to go ahead and send you an email with some of those condos. If you know of somebody, I'd love it if you just go ahead, forward my information to them, because you know what? The more friends you can have down here with you, the better. Figure out those soft closes. Start with real estate, end with real estate. But you know what? Don't make it all about that sometimes. And we can do that video based. We can do it on platforms that we're doing today. So do we have to get out there and door knock? No. But you know what? We have to get out there and reach. Set up appointments, set up different simple things. Make phone calls and switch those phone calls over to FaceTime. There's a lot of great ways to be able to get there. So drop off delivery. One of the things that is huge sometimes is doing those Popeyes, doing those door knockings, putting those door hangers on. So how do we look at that? And how do we still get some of those things conveyed? Well, depending on your restrictions within your community, travel is limited to necessity. So what is considered a necessity? One of some of the best practices some agents have shared with me recently is she does Popeyes, and we just had Easter go past here. And she had all these little bunnies that she wanted to give out. So what she did is she did a video, she posted it on her social media, shared it with her group for her clients. She has them all in one group on her Facebook. She shared them with the group and said, this is what I have. They're all individually wrapped, and I'm going to put them out in front of the office. One, if you're out and about, come by and pick them up. I'd love to. Or if you want, I'll be more than happy to drop them by. In that group, she had 778 people. Believe it or not, she had all but 16 say that they would still love to have it. And those 16 came back to her and said, we appreciate you thinking about us. We appreciate you respecting social distancing. I can't wait to talk to you. Hope everything is fine. She really didn't have anybody take offense. Another agent, she's went and she's done some different things with her past clients. She's dropped off some hand sanitizer. She's dropped off some different supplies. And what she does is she drops them off and then sends them a text message with a picture of it on their front step because she doesn't really want to engage. She doesn't want to do that door knocking and get face to face to them, but she does want to let them know, you know what, we've been thinking about you. So think about some different ways. And again, follow your rules and regulations within your community because we never want to have you do something where you're putting yourself at risk or potentially somebody else. But again, think about ways that you can do. Oh, I got another. One agent, you know what she did? She took her A past clients, those clients that really give her referral business, and she throwed a virtual pizza party. And what she did is she invited about, I think it was about 30, 35 people into her virtual pizza party, and she had her local pizza parlor deliver everybody a pizza. And they all got they set it up so the pizzas would deliver at a certain time. They were all sharing. They talked about different things that were going on. They had a glass of wine or a soda or a glass of iced tea, whatever it was that their drink was. But she got all those clients to communicate together. Plus, she also got the local pizza parlor to discount those deliveries of the pizzas because you know what? She was getting so many at one time, they gave her a great deal. So think about some ways that you can actually do a little bit of those unique things during this pandemic and process that we're at. So again, like I said, those drop off and deliveries, you know, what can we do? How can we do it? And how can we do it different ways? One of the other practices some of the agents have shared with me is local restaurants that are offering discounts because, you know, we look at our large franchises, but we forget some of those mom and pops within the community. So dropping off some menus, some coupons of things at local delivery, or just sharing those virtually over on your social media. Hey, here's 5 great restaurants that deliver to our area. Right now this week they're offering a special, but here if you're tired of cooking your own meal, these are some great restaurants that go ahead and deliver. Check out this one. Look at that. And again, those offerings of the virtual CMAs and hand sanitizer. Here, we're getting a lot of agents, they're ordering those face masks, the ones that are laser cut, and they have their Century 21 logo on them. So they're offering people, we have face masks. If you want them, we'll drop them off. We'll put them in the mail to you. But what I'm seeing in my community are I'm seeing people walk around with Century 21 face masks with a little C21 watermark. So you know what? It depends what you're getting out there and how you get it out. Digital delivery. You know what? Think of the items of inventory that we normally share. Again, those CMAs, virtual open houses. We teach a great class on virtual open houses and virtual showings. Think about how you can leverage that. You know, maybe you have some empty inventory where you know your houses are vacant, or get with a builder that has some vacant inventory and set up a FaceTime Live or a Facebook Live, set up a Zoom meeting, set up any kind of virtual meeting, and then go ahead and share it out, publicize it. But even better, get them to register for it so you can follow up with who actually joined, who attended. So think about how we can do digital delivery a little different. We talked about the CMA. I just talked about the open house, or maybe just do a home Q&A. Get have some conversations. Maybe set up a meeting just like this, but maybe set up a panel with a lender, an attorney, an appraiser, a stager. What are some of those different companies? How are they going ahead doing it virtually, and what are some of those availabilities that you can do? So do a home buying workshop, do a home selling workshop, maybe some sellers that actually have sold through the pandemic. Share their experiences. What did you do? How did your company help? And how did they engage through that process? Because once, you know, it's that old, this is what we found. I understand how you feel. This is what we found. I understand how you feel. I know I know this is what we found, and this is how they felt. You know, it's that feel, felt, found. That's it. Understand how you feel. Other people have felt that way, and this is what we found. So I understand that you're interested, and I can truly, other people have felt the same way. And this is what we found. If we still go ahead and get that market, there's still buyers out there in that market, and it's getting ahead of that game. So frequency and deliver. And one of the things that we talk about here in C21 University is the relationship campaign. And that's real. And why do we put that play on that word of really putting in real in the beginning of it? It's again, putting in those pieces of value. There was a recent study that was done and it shared how often do you have to be in front of somebody that already knows you or already has done business with you so they can remember who you are and remember to call an action when they're looking for your service. Well, years ago, it used to be 6 times a year. Then it was 12 times a year. The study that came out last year was between 48 and 52 times a year. That's almost one a month, one a week. Why the change? Why did it go from 6 times? Why did it go from 12 to 18? And now we're up in that 40s and 50s. Well, you know what? It's all the ready information that's available at those fingertips. Also, it was tested that adults, when they're around technology, have about the same attention span as a goldfish. So as they're on social media, as they're on their computer, something pops up, something comes in, they Google search something, and all of a sudden they go down a path. And I know when I talk about that it's 40 some odd times, agents normally shut me down, and I can hear those virtual eye rolls coming right from Canada all the way down to South Carolina. Too many times for me to reach out to my friends and family, too many times for me to reach out to anybody. Well, let's digest it. Well, you know what? Letting people know you have inventory to sell once a month, I think that's a pretty gosh darn idea. Because if you're active in real estate, whether it's your listing or your office listing or your company's listing, you want to make sure that your sphere of influence, your friends and family, and anybody you can touch knows that you have inventory that's for sale. So once a month, sharing a listing, whether it's yours or within your company, great move. That's 12. Also that you're getting results, whether you sold it or again, whether it transitioned in your company or it's transitioning in your neighborhood, sharing results that people are buying, properties are transitioning. Doing that once a month, we're at 24. Sharing an item of value, whether it's a discount and perk that's available to your consumers, whether it's just a market update, whether or not it's a drip campaign, whether it's an environmental campaign, a staying in touch, a holiday campaign. Sharing item of value, again, being that safe source of real estate information. Now we're up to 36. Now you may do these via email, you may do these via direct mail, you may do them via social media. Not that big a fan on counting that social media piece in yet, but we're up to 36. Contacting them once a quarter, now I'm up to 40. Now play in your social media. So when you digest it, really doesn't sound that bad, does it? So think about your campaign. How frequently are you going to reach out? How are you going to reach out? And what are you going to reach out? So one of the things that we suggest is go ahead and craft it out. Look at each quarter and figure out what's your focus. So your focus for the next 90 days, what do you want to focus on? Tell you what I would focus on, finding out how to get inventory, reaching out to those expired listings that feel abandoned. We're hearing that a lot here in the States. Their listings are expiring and they're frustrated. They don't want to relist for their agent because their agent went dark. Their agent got absorbed into the pandemic and wasn't paying attention to their needs. So be that agent that's out there. So think about focusing on listings. How can you do that? Well, you know what? Talk about a bunch of different things. Go after those listings that have come off the market. Maybe go after some of those old for sale by owners that used to be on the market. Are they interested in listing? And by now, through going through a pandemic, their urgency level may be a lot higher. So maybe focus on listings. Think about how you're going to reach out. How are you going to do it? What's your campaign? What are you going to do in email? What are you going to do in direct mail? And what are you going to do on social media? Then go ahead and build that forward. What's the next thing you want to look at? Well, maybe now that you have listings, you want to talk to buyers because now you have inventory to sell. So how can we attract some of those buyers? Maybe that virtual buyer seminar, different things. And then remember, you may have a budget that impacts this, especially if you're going to do direct mail, or maybe you're going to sign on to a subscription to a visual platform or virtual platforms such as Zoom or other platforms that are out there. What's your cost? And then also figure out your focus for that quarter. So we want to build out that campaign. And what I really challenge you to do is build out your campaign not just for the next 90 days, but really, maybe when we get to that normal, come back in. If you can do the next 90 days, that's a great challenge. I'll leave that. But what I'd like you to do is actually sit down and build out your whole campaign for the whole year. So here's some best practices and some things that some of the agents have shared with me that they're doing. So I wanted to share them with you. 21, how do we come with a number? The 21 best practices in buying and selling a home in today's market. Again, like I said, we as Century 21, we have some white pages out there for you. And if you don't have them, I'll be more than happy. I can email them out and get them out to everybody. But also, obviously through our National Association of Realtors, there's some things, and I'm positive you have some of those resources that you can come up with or work together as a team. Get together with your office, do a Zoom meeting and figure out what could be those things that you could go ahead and share. A list of mobile and home services. A lot of people are still in need of services, but maybe they're limited to one, their mobility, one to how they can get out. So what can they get locally? Local suppliers. Here in the States, we ran out of tons of things. We still have a problem with toilet paper. Hopefully you guys in Canada have not realized that, but we have a problem with certain foods that are in shortages. So what local vendors can you have and share? Real-time sharing of supplies and what's in local stores. As you find out that things are needed, how can you get that? Steps with homeschooling. That's a big thing in the US that right now is all the schools are closed. So how can we deal with having these children at home while we're working from home and ways to be able to better manage that? Easy crafts, and then also some essential apps, finding some of those top apps that are available. So here's my story. I am a human person of nature. I live outside of Charleston in a small town called Lexington. I went to the grocery store. I had no milk, had no eggs. I went to go get meat. The only thing they had were frozen turkeys. So I went and I found some I did a Google search and I found a local dairy. That local dairy now, believe it or not, delivers milk, eggs, and cheese right to my doorstep. I don't even have to leave my home. I've been sharing that out like crazy and their business is booming. I also found a great local meat department or butcher. He has 5,000 grass-fed Black Angus cows that are roaming in his farm. He is not planning on running out of beef. Cool thing is I can go ahead, text in my order, and drive by, pick it up, they bring it out to my car. So think about some of those local suppliers supporting that local market. Don't know if it's a problem in your area, but I figured I would go ahead and share it because this is one of those things that we found is when we were finding some problems, where can we find some solutions? And those become great items of value during this pandemic. With those kids being home, some crafts that they can do. I made fun of this craft, and this is my visual because we have all those rolls of toilet paper that are somewhere in the United States. I don't know where they are, but so you know what? Find some simple crafts. But here's my suggestion. Share some craft ideas. Share them on your social media. Look for crafts that take simple household items. We don't want them to have to go to the store, order supplies, and do things. So look for some simple crafts. On YouTube, there's a great one. It's called 5-Minute Crafts for Kids. So you can even share those. But you know what? Put out a challenge. If you have children in your home or if you're a little crafty and that's maybe something that you align to, say, hey, you know what? I did this. I did it with my children. I did it with my grandchildren virtually. But you know what? Give out a challenge. Throw a craft out there. Throw a recipe out there and say, hey, whoever does it, the first people that show me the results, you know, you can buy gift cards, have them delivered online, but do some little prizes, do some recognition, have them go ahead and share back on your social media. Well, here's the craft, you know, here's kids, and here's the craft that they made, and thanks. And then give out some awards, give out some prizes. Maybe do that pizza delivery. It's affordable, it's easy, and it's simple. But so think about some of those things. How can you engage and how can you be that person of value? The cool thing with this one, this is that one that can go viral on your social media. They share it with their friends and family. It gets shared. It gets shared. More people are liking your page. More people are posting, and you're getting that more activity. So when we talk about social media, what are those normals and what are some best practices? Well, here I got a simple graphic for you about how many times, you know, whether Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest, not sure what is dominant in your area, but I can tell you great behavior is. Post regularly. Don't just be a one and done. You know, if you're going to do a social media platform, be there regularly and develop that presence. Leverage video as much as you can, especially in today's society. We want to see your happy face. They want to see your interaction and move forward. Be interactive. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that interactive, but don't just post, ask for their opinion. One of the agents, she actually messed up her whole house and she made it look like a traditional seller that you may get. Their house is cluttered, it's got things all over the place. And what she's been doing is how to get your home ready for sale or how to stage your home. So she'll take a picture of, for example, her kitchen. It's all a mess, everything's all over the place. And then what she does is she shows it pre, shows it post. Now it's all cleaned up, it looks nice. And then she gives some, you know, 5 or 10 steps to simply how to stage your kitchen. She does the same thing with family rooms, bedrooms, bathrooms, and other areas in the house. You know what? She's been getting a lot of interest, but also she's been getting people that want to actually now list their home because this was what a great thing that they can do now to be able to get their house ready. So she's starting those virtual listing presentations. She's starting those virtual CMAs, but even better, she's creating those relationships with an item of value. Be speedy in your response. Turn those apps on your phone, look at those alerts, and when somebody comments on a post, be there. When somebody asks a question, respond. Don't just post something and go back a week later. Keep an eye on that pulse. So anyway, focus on what you're going to say. Don't just wake up and say, this is what I'm going to post on social media. Again, remember when I talked about that plan? Create what your plan's going to be. Week 1 of May, week 2 of May, there's 4 weeks in May. Create out what's your topic going to be? How are you going to hit that? And what are some things? 1, it will make it less stressful for you, but 2, you're going to be able to measure that impact. So here's one of the best practices I want to talk to. And a friend of mine, Sarah, she's a top agent in our Georgia area. She has been rocking this out for years. And she said now it's even more important. She's been still getting listings every week since the pandemic started here in the States. And it's on social media. Likes, comments, and shares. We all posted something on social media at some time before. What she does, she actually does social listening. It's a great activity, and maybe it's something that we can look forward to doing you in your Relentless series is that social strategy class. But what she does is when somebody likes it, she actually responds back and says, you know what, Leanne, what did you like about it? And then when somebody comments, she goes back to that comment and says, hey, Scott, I really like that you commented about this. Is that something you're interested in? Even better, the shares. When she shares a listing, when she posts a listing and people share it, she reaches back out and she says, hey, Renee, you know what? I noticed you shared that. What was the interest? What happened? Oh, well, you know what? A friend of mine's interested in buying a house. Oh, well, that's great. You know, would you mind, letting them give me their information, share, have them like my page, be more than happy to do some things for them. But what she's doing is it's called social distancing listening. So she's posting and then paying attention to what's happening. And with that, she's been able to find what posts get the most activity, what posts get the most shares, and the most comments. One of the things that she does is also that she's found that's been really active is when she gets those listings that are in queue. Sometimes she'll go ahead and she'll take she has a private Facebook. She doesn't put this out on her big Facebook, but she does it to her past clients, and also to her past clients, she doesn't. And she'll say, hey, this is a new property that's potentially coming on the market, and here are some key rooms. If you had to stage them, how would you stage them? Or what do you think about them? And then the people go, you know what, the couches, it's dark, it's cluttered. And then she goes back and she says, hey, we took your comments and we restaged these rooms based on what you said. What do you think? And they love it. She gets so many requests for people to join that group, but she really wants to keep it a little small. But, so think about not just sending out information and posting it, but listening to your audience, responding to your audience, find out what they like, but also engage with them. Ask, why did they share it? Why did they like it? Oh, well, you know what? I liked it because I would love to have a kitchen like that. Well, you know what? This house has a kitchen like that and it's currently for sale. It's giving her the opportunity to have great conversations from social media. So number 4 is get to business. And that, again, is what it's about. It's not just about being out there, but it's actually developing that call of action. So we talked about awareness, we talked about interest, and now getting that evaluation and action. What does that mean? It's finding out where they are in that path. Remember, I said the average consumer buys and sells a home anywhere between every 7 to 10 years. So it's not like they're out there buying a home every month, every other month, or even every year. So we're going to have people that are going to have 3 different stages of readiness. I kind of look at it as a traffic light. Red, you know what? They just bought. The probability that they're going to buy again in the next 30, 60, 90 days, cool if it happens, probability is not high. But we still want to remind them. We want to go after that repeat referral business and make sure that we're first of mind. So how are we going to follow up with them? Creating that plan that goes for those people that aren't really ready yet. Then we have those people that are thinking about being ready. Once this lifts, once my job is a little bit more secure, once, I get a little bit more steady on my feet, I'd really like to talk to you. So there we're going to give them a little bit more information. We're going to give them seller guides, buyer guides. We're going to feed them a little bit more. We're going to reach out to them a little bit more. Maybe those others are on a drip campaign with maybe a phone call every quarter. Now, our ones that are maybe not quite ready yet, they're going to be a little different. Oops. And now are ready to go. Those people that got money in their pocket, the moving truck's out in the front yard, and they are ready to go. Normally, there's an urgency right now. A job relocation, downsizing, upsizing, whatever's going on in their world is causing that action. Those we know how to handle really well. We put them on alerts, we get them seeing property, we get them pre-qualified, and we go through those steps. So looking forward, Some of the takeaways I want you to think about: one, how can you expand that sphere? We talked about finding those audiences. It's not just your friends and family. It's not just your past clients. Finding out how you can communicate with people of like interests. Finding out different professions that maybe you leverage. Maybe one of your prior careers to real estate was that you were in a different profession. I used to teach school, believe it or not. Now I teach agents, kind of aligns. But anyway, I can go back, maybe I want to go back to those school teachers. Maybe I want to go back to that school zone. What can I do? How can I help them? And how can I be that person of resource? Next one is think about drafting that campaign for the next 90 days. What do you want to get? In month of May, do you want to focus on listings? You really want to get that inventory. How are we going to get it? What are we going to share? What are we going to promote? And how are we going to leverage that group? And create your budget. How much are you willing to spend to go after that? And come up with a healthy plan. So with that said, that is the end of my presentation. We do have a great opportunity. If you want to give some feedback about today's presentation, it is c21evals.com. Not quite sure that works in Canada, but hopefully it does. So with that said.
Thank you very much, Kathryn. If people have any questions, you can write them in the right side of your screen down at the bottom. It says write a comment. I'll be able to ask Kathryn those questions for you. Kathryn, just as I've been sitting here listening, I have been wondering a little bit, how often should you be trying to get touch points with your sphere? Is this something sort of just dribble it out, or is this something you should be making a schedule for?
You should have a schedule. You should really, that's why I said you need to come up with that plan, and you need to have schedules for people in different areas. So we talked about that traffic light, that red, that green, that yellow. That red, maybe it's not as robust as I talked about, those 48 and some odd touches, but still we want to let them know that we have inventory to sell. We still want them to let them know that the market is moving, that people are buying. And we also want to offer something of value. So scheduling those pieces out is an important part. How often should you do it? I still think even for somebody that's in that not ready, you still want to be out there at least 36 to 40 some odd times a year.
Okay, that's quite frequent.
It is, but you know what? It's that noise. It's all that noise. Think about it. How many times have you been online and something popped up and you went down that rabbit hole? And again, it's also looking at that attention span. A lot of people have, they bounce from one to the other. The great thing that I love about the Century 21 name, they remember the Century 21 name. And they go, oh, well, you know what? I bought my house from Century 21. I used to work for Century 21. We sold our house with Century 21. That's awesome. What's even better is when they say, oh, you know what? I sold my house through Century 21 and my agent's name was Kathryn Carr. My agent's name is, or you know what? Here's my great agent and she works for Century 21 or he works for Century 21. So it's creating that personal branding. And you know what? Hate to say it. Everything that you touch, everything that you use is reminding you somewhere, whether it's on social media, television, marketing, print media, in the mail. You have to be there. You have to create that personal brand. And the only thing that's going to do that is consistency.
On that note, we do have a question from someone saying, how often should I be posting on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn? How many times a day do you recommend that?
Well, that's I have that best practice, and I'll be more than happy to share. Well, you have all the slides. So you have that slide, and we can actually share that one best practice. So when you look at that social media, I showed a great graph, and I got it from I forgot the name of the company. I just went blank, but I'll remember it. And really what it talks about is what is light, what's average, and what's high. And what you don't want to be, you want to be somewhere between that light to average. So, we can share that slide back out, pull that out in a PDF, and hopefully maybe share it back into the post. Can we do that?
We can give it a go.
Or here, I can pull it up on my screen and share it back. Let me see. Where did my presentation go? But that's one of the things, and one of the things I really love, and I didn't talk about it in this class, but we do talk about it in other classes, is actually using because social media to me gets very huge and very time consuming. And I actually use what's called a social media dashboard. And if it's okay, I'll talk about it for a second.
Please do.
So what's a social media dashboard? I use one, it's been around for a while, and it's called Hootsuite. Hoot like an owl and suite like a hotel suite. But what Hootsuite enables me to do, I can open up one platform. It has a mobile app as well, and I can go ahead and take a video. So I'm out, I want to talk about the market, or I just want to talk about my day. I can take a simple video and I can post that video on my Facebook. I can post it on my LinkedIn. I can post it on my Twitter, all with one single post. Not only can I manage multiple different pieces of social media and platforms underneath one central app, I can also schedule out a lot of posts. So what I did as an agent is I would go ahead and set Monday mornings was my social media day. So I would look at what do I have going on that week, or what do I have going on, maybe I set up some open houses, I set up some different things that I have, maybe I set up just some conversations, or I wanted to go down a path. And I would go ahead and post my social media out and what Hootsuite enables. So for example, on my Facebook account, I have about 3,500 people. At any given time, I only have 42% of my audience. So I never have, on average, a higher than a 42% audience at one single time. But Hootsuite can take my post, and if I say I want to go ahead and post this on Friday, May 1st, welcome into May, let's get May moving, what are your goals for the month of May, whatever I'm putting in that post, it will go ahead and post it on May 1st, but it's going to wait until I get my highest audience. So it's actually going to do social listening for me and say, okay, we're at 38% of her audience. That's when we're going to go ahead and post it. So it can manage that you're posting when people are actually there, not when you're anticipating they're going to be there. So having that social media dashboard, one, it gives you the availability to post one single post on multiple different platforms at one time, so you're not having to repost, but also it gives you the availability to do some social listing and go ahead and schedule out that post in advance.
Great information. And we also have Back at You media for Century 21 Canada. So that's available to you for that social media. Our excellent marketing coordinator, Jocelyn, has posted in the comments section that graph that Kathryn was talking about. How often should you post on each channel? That is in the bottom right-hand corner. So what are your thoughts about sharing non-real estate related content, video or images, highlighting other things we agents like to do for fun?
I think that's great. Again, going back to my suggestion about doing crafts or doing recipes, I think that that's a great thing. Sharing things in golf. Another thing that I have is, again, I have a passion for golf. I also have a passion for deep sea fishing. So I have some feeds that I actually have signed up to that I go ahead and put those back out there. You want to find those relationships, and you don't want your social media to be all about real estate. You have to blend it because you want to be able to build those relationships. For example, when you go on a listing and you do that walkthrough, you get to the front door, you say hi, you shake hands, you set your things down. One of the first things we do is we go through a tour of the home, right? As we go through that tour of the home, granted, are we there to look at the home, see the bedroom, see the bath, see the condition? Yeah. But what do we do mostly as we're doing that tour? We're building our relationships. We're looking for those commonalities. I know one of the things I would do, if I notice certain things, for example, my family's always been in the military. So if I see something that's military memorabilia as I'm walking through a house, I may ask, who was in the Air Force, who was in the Army, who is this? And I find out, and then I'll share my story along with that, looking for that alignment, looking for that stickiness. So, we build those relationships. So just like you build those relationships when you're in person, and find those commonalities, because you know what? If you have a dog, I have a dog, you have a cat, I have a cat, don't like my cat, but my cat doesn't like me either, so that's okay. But so it's finding those things that we have in common that breaks down those barriers. So yes, absolutely, share some things. Be careful what you share. Stay away from those big danger zones. Stay away from politics. Stay away from religion. Stay away from money. Those are sometimes they go down an unhealthy path. But absolutely, share some of the things you have a passion for. Every Sunday here in the States, I'm horseback riding. So a lot of times you see me and my horse. You see me and Miss Nilly, and and I align with other people that do things of like kind. So please share, because as you share, if you have grandkids, they have grandkids, it just breaks down those barriers. It lets them see that, what, he may be okay. She may be okay, because what, we have things in common. So absolutely, just do a good, healthy blend.
Great advice, Kathryn. I think we will leave it there. We really appreciate your time. The feedback throughout this entire session has been great info, great recommendations. Thank you so much. It's been fantastic. And we look forward to having you again in a couple of weeks. We've got you joining us 2 weeks from now on May 19th and 20th, talking about pricing and negotiating. So
Absolutely.
Please stay tuned for those. So thank you very much, Kathryn. We look forward to seeing you again in a couple of weeks.
Thanks. Love it. Thank you. Have a great day. If there's anything I can help with, please feel free to reach out.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kathryn. And everyone else, we will be back tomorrow. Our topic tomorrow is Facebook ads. If this is something that you've always thought about but aren't really sure where to start, we have Sean Bell from Century 21 Drive in Lloydminster, and he's going to talk to us. This is an area where he is an expert. He's had great success with it, and he's going to walk us through how to do a Facebook ad and all the buttons you need to push on Facebook in order to execute that. So please join us tomorrow at the same time, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern for that. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.